Hello, my neighbor. Let's talk about who created the Republic. So we're going to have some fun today. We have another hot take. Check out this title. What is a republic? Okay, so we're just gonna hop off onto this one super quick because, this one I got set off yesterday because I was hanging out on the social media and I saw that a constitutional republic was trending, and I thought that was really cool. It was only trending by about like 4,000 mentions on the platform, but it was cool because it was still trending. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop on to this bit real quick. So I want to give a shout out to the political parties for showing us how they manage our systems. So I really appreciate all the political parties that exist right now because they show us how they manage our constitutional systems, right? They show us how they read the terms and the conditions, and they show us how they execute the trust. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate how transparent you are. Thank you for your service. Thanks for this jump off bit. Now, let's hop on this hot take, my neighbor. What is a republic? So we're going to lay down some terms and some conditions, and you and I, we have to agree upon them so we can be on the same page. We have to be on one mind so then that way we can say, yes, that's what that term means, and I agree with that condition, okay? Now check out these bits and focus on the highlight. I'm going to show you 3 words right now, okay? Here goes guarantee. All right, I always love saying I guarantee, right? Because it's a fun word, okay? Now check out what guarantee means, okay? Guarantee is to ward. Guarantee is warrant. Guarantee is to warrant. Guarantee to make sure. Guarantee to secure the performance of, okay? So this is why I'm always guaranteeing things, because I'm like, yo, it's sure, right? It's secure because I know who paid for it all ultimately. Thank you, Jesus. But when I'm saying what I'm saying because I have proof, and I'm always showing because I read the contract and I read the terms and the conditions. So when something is guaranteed, you got a warrant, right? And that means it's just sure, right? And sure is set. Okay. Now drop down and check out what warrant is, because guarantee has warrant in it. All right. Look at this bit right here. Warrant is to stop. Warrant is hold. Warrant is to repel. Warrant is guard by resisting danger. Warrant is to keep off. Warrant is security. And warrant is to authorize. So full disclosure, my father was God. I am man. I was created from the dust of the ground, and I'm going to go back to the dust. But my father created me to dress and keep the garden. So the whole creation is my father's realm. The whole creation is my father's property. This body is my father's property. So I am my father's warrant. So I'm one of my father's warrant officers because I was created to keep things, right? So I like to show people how things operate, and then, it's just a fun bit. So when I'm trying to provide security for people, I provide them security by showing them the terms and the conditions, and I say, do you agree to those terms and do you agree to those conditions? Yes or no, right? Because this is what I was created to do. I was created to dress and keep the garden, and I love it. Thank you, Father. Now, drop down and check out what republic is. All right, we love this one right here. So republic is fun. All right, a republic if you can keep it, sir. That's what Ben Franklin said when the woman asked him, "Sir, what did you give us, sir?" And then Ben said, "A republic if you can keep it, sir." Ma'am, I almost said sir, right? But that's what Ben told the woman when she asked him, "What kind of government did you give us?" And he said, "A republic." Right? Now you better keep it. It's biblical. We love this bit, okay? Now let's go ahead and hop on republic now and focus on the highlight and the underline. Republic. Republic is public affairs, okay? 2 words, republic. Republic, a commonwealth. Republic, a state in which the exercise of the sovereign power is lodged in representatives elected by the people. Remember that. It's lodged, okay? So a state in which the exercise of the sovereign power I'm the sovereign power, okay, is lodged in representatives elected by the people. So we choose the people that get to exercise the powers that we grant them, okay? Let's keep it going. In modern usage, it differs from a democracy or democratic state. Repeat. It differs. A republic differs from a democracy or a democratic state in which the people exercise the powers of sovereignty in person. All right. That's what we would call mob rule, right? So if every man and every woman was exercising their sovereign abilities and their sovereign powers, then you would have little mini states. You would have every man will be a little mini state and every woman will be a little mini state, and they would be exercising all of their powers, and they would say, I decree, I declare, right? We technically do that right now, but we do it in a smoother way because then we choose an elected official to exercise the powers that we grant them, but we still hold all political power, right? So this is why it's a really cool bit. Because when you know how to exercise, if you know how to exercise all political power, then you can make sure that you can instruct your elected representative or your representative, you instruct them and you make sure that they know how to exercise all political power. It's real easy because then you only have to go to one man or one woman, one person, and tell them, hello, representative. This entity right here is infringing on my inherent rights. They're not allowing me to get property right now. Can you please make sure that they handle the business properly? That's what we do now, right? That's what we do. And, right now, because if you had a democratic state, then every man and every woman would have to go to every entity and then they would have to exercise that ability. That's too much work. That's way too much work because then you're going to have a whole bunch of people chattering in all these entities' ears and then telling them, this is my power, this is my authority. You can do that, right? But it's just chaos when you get things like that. That's why they call democratic states mob rule, right? Because you don't want to be ruled by the mob. So whatever the mob is saying, then that's what the mob is going to want to do. It's much more slick when you have a representative elected official, right? Or what we would call a trustee, because then that one trustee can go exercise all of the power and all of the ability, especially if they know that they're one of the people with all political power, okay? And that's the cool thing, because the representatives should understand the Constitution and they should understand that they have all political power, right? That's what they should. They should understand they have all political power. They should understand that they're one of the people, and all they have to do is just exercise and flex, right? And we love it, right? But right now, we have a lot of people who don't know that we're a republic, right? They believe that we're a democratic state or a democracy, right? And that's just not true. That's false. That's a hoax, right? And the people or the entities that are spreading this, what we call misinformation, are the political parties, right? Because the political parties, one of the political parties' name is the Republicans, right? And then the other ones are called the Democrats, right? And then the Democrats are always talking about our democracy and our democratic state. And we're just like, bro, we're not a democracy, right? And then it flies over their head because they're just saying what they believe, right? And that's cool, that's fair, but you can't come into our constitutional systems, our republics, right, and then try to exercise your authority over them. That's just not, those aren't the terms and those aren't the conditions, okay? So we're just trying to lay out these terms and these conditions for you in simplicity because we want the people to know what a republic is. We want the people, my neighbors, to know what a warrant is, and we want the people and my neighbors to know what guarantee is, okay? So if you understand how to use guarantee, warrant, and republic, then I guarantee you're going to bring down your stress levels, okay, my neighbor? Now, drop down and check out this bit right here. The United States Constitution, Article IV for 4. We're showing you right now, we're showing you the proof, okay? The states, Section 4. So we're pulling from our Constitution. So we got multiple constitutions. We have state constitutions and we have the federal Constitution. This is the federal Constitution right here, and it's talking about the states, okay? Remember, one man is a state, one woman is a state. When you put them together, they're called the United States, okay? Check out the highlight on this bit right here. It says, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. Repeat, the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. All right, I'm gonna pause on that bit right there. So if entities are coming in and saying that we have a democracy or a democratic state, then that is what we call an invasion. Okay, so they are invading our Republican form of governments, right? So if you have public servants saying we have to protect the democracy, then they are declaring war against our Constitution, right? That's called an invasion, and they can't do that, right? They can't do that. So just know, if any entity, if any elected official or any representative or any agent goes against what the Constitution says, then that means that they've voided out their power, they've voided out their authority. You don't have to listen to them. In fact, you need to instruct them, because you need to punish them and you need to take them to court. Okay, that's what you need to do, because they're acting treasonous, right? If they go against the Constitution and they keep saying we are a democracy, they are warring against the Constitution. If they say we have democratic states, they are warring against the Constitution, because the Constitution says a Republican form of government. Okay, you got to understand the terms and you got to understand the conditions. Okay, all right, let's reread that one more time. It says, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, okay, two branches, when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. All right, so if entities are, or if entities have allowed other foreign entities to come into our Republican form of governments, then that's called domestic violence, right? And if they're trying to set up shop and then they're flying other flags in our Republican form of government in our United States of America, and then they're literally flying flags from other nations in our country, right? Then that's what we call domestic violence, right? And our legislature and our executives should be protecting us, the people, from that, because this is what we elected you to do. You are a trustee, okay? So all of our government entities are trustees of we the people, and they're supposed to act with the fiduciary responsibility. They're supposed to do their due diligence. They're supposed to understand what the terms and the conditions mean relative to the constitutions, and they got to protect our Republican form of governments, because they're guaranteed. Okay, so don't let your public servants keep saying we're a democracy. We're not a democracy. Stop letting them call our governments democratic states. We're not democratic states. Now, your political party, you can be a member of a political party, right? But that political party is foreign to our constitutions. Okay, all political parties are foreign to our constitutions. Now, when you take on the position of the office, right, then that means you have to put your political party ideology aside, and you have to follow the terms and the conditions as written within our constitutions. Okay, remember this, my neighbor, and then you're going to bring down your stress levels a whole lot. All right. So I just wanted to show you that provision from, our United States Constitution, because it's telling you what type of governments each of our states are guaranteed. They're Republicans, okay? Republican form of governments, all right? And then I wanted to show you what a republic is, because it's all about the Commonwealth, man. So we got to learn how to keep the Commonwealth, okay? We got to keep the wealth, all right? And then I wanted to show you what warrant is, because I love being a warrant. And then I wanted to show you what guarantee is, because I love guaranteeing things. Excuse me, morning time, I had to burp. And then I just wanted to do that hot take on what is a republic, because it was trending, and I like to talk about trends, because sometimes things trend for a reason, because people are interested in what it is that's trending, okay? All right, we're done with that bit. Let's hop on our next slide. Conclusion. This is my closeout game. Trust God, okay? I'm going to say this for now and on until my Father taps me out. Because remember, my Father is God, okay? I'm giving full disclosure. That's where I come from. I come from God, right? So trust God. Put your property in God's trust, right? If you trust God, if you put your property in God's trust, then I guarantee you will bring down your stress levels a whole lot. Because then all you're going to have to learn how to do is to dress and keep my Father's property. And remember, this whole realm is my Father's property. Every man and every woman was created by my Father because my Father was God. And your body, this ain't your property. This ain't my property. This is my Father's property. And I just have a duty and I have an obligation to dress and keep it, okay? Because I come from the dust and I'm going to go back to the dust. At least my physical being is, but my spirit, it's going to go back to my Creator, God, okay? So this is why we're always trying to show you how to trust God, because once you learn how to put your property in trust, right, then you're going to bring down your stress levels a whole lot, okay, my neighbor? All right, so let's walk it back up now. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the political parties for showing us how they manage our systems. I do really appreciate the political parties, and I really appreciate how they get on the screen and then they just babble and then they say words and then we know how they move because of the words that come out of their mouth, right? So every time they say, we're democracy, then we know that you don't know the law. And we also know that you're warring against the people. And we also know that you're warring against our constitutions, even though you may claim that you're trying to uphold the constitutions. We know that you're not because of the words that come out of your mouth, okay? Remember this, all right? You better be tight with your words because it's all about the contract. And then I wanted to give that hot take on what is a republic. Now you know what a republic is, and you better learn how to keep it. And then I wanted to talk about who created the republic. Remember, the people created the republic. I'm one of the people, so I'm one of the creators of the republic, and I understand how to dress and keep the republic, and I like teaching my elected representatives or any entity that works inside or underneath our Constitution. I love showing you guys how to operate the constitutions, so then that way you can dress and keep the republic as written. Okay, my neighbor? All right, so we're done. Thank you. I'll see you in the future. By God with love. And remember, nobody's having more fun than us. Bye.